We begin tonight with breaking news. Denver's first confirmed case of measles this year is an infant younger than 12 months old. City's health department says the baby was too young to be vaccinated, and the baby had recently traveled to an area of Mexico that has a measles outbreak. They do not believe the case is likely linked to Colorado's first case of the year down in Pueblo. Health department says anybody who visited the ER at Denver Health yesterday between 10:30 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon may have been exposed to measles.
More breaking news. Denver police are searching for two missing 10-year-old boys last seen at the Tennyson Center for Children. They say Carter Jones on your left and Avion's Grimball on your right disappeared earlier today. Back in 2021, a 9 News investigation found children often ran away from the Tennyson Center, resulting in the death of two boys 2 years apart. If you know where Carter or Avion, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, are tonight, please call Denver Police at the number there on your screen. A Douglas County deputy will not face charges for shooting and killing 23-year-old Jalen Sebron. This happened back in February outside the main event in Highlands Ranch. 9 News reporter Janelle Finch is in Dougco for us tonight. And Janelle, this deputy went in there on the report of an active shooter.
It's been almost 2 months to the day since a Douglas County Sheriff's deputy shot and killed a young man, completely changing the lives of family and friends who loved him. Today, a district attorney says that while the loss of life is tragic, he found the use of deadly force justified under Colorado law.
It's also not relevant what pictures.
After months of reviewing evidence and interviewing witnesses, 23rd Judicial District Attorney George Brockler presented his findings in the death of Jalen Sebron.
This is a discussion of whether or not that conduct by Deputy Moore in shooting and killing Jalen Sebron is a crime under Colorado state law.
Douglas County Sheriff's Deputy Nicholas Moore shot and killed Sebron on February 8th outside main event in Highlands Ranch.
One of the questions that's asked by the law is, why not less lethal? There's got to be a reason why not less lethal. And the reason Deputy Moore says he did not consider less lethal in the situation was because it was an active shooter situation. He engaged a suspect that was holding a firearm, and he was the only law enforcement officer at the time in the area.
The DA says the deputy's use of deadly force was justified based on what he knew and didn't know at the time.
Looking at it in the rearview mirror, oh, it's easy to come up with 8 million things we might have, could have done. But the deputy didn't have the ability to do that. He didn't have a rearview mirror. He had just what was in front of him and what was in his head. And that's what we've analyzed.
Brockler says the deputy provided 3 verbal commands to Sebron to drop his weapon. He didn't comply, and he was shot in 4 seconds. Those seconds forced a family into their first few months of a lifetime of grief. Sebron's father, Dennis Crowley.
He was gunned down like a dog, and no humanity was shown in Officer Nick Moore's heart.
And mother, Veronica Sebron, disagrees with the DA's conclusion.
There is no justification for as many shots fired. There is no justification for criminalizing him before anything was ever released.
They say they will continue to pursue justice for their son, even if they have to go to another judicial district for consideration.
This will never be justified to me.
Sheriff Darren Weekly also held his own press conference to say that he supports the DA's investigation, his findings, as well as the actions of his deputy. The sheriff says the office is still conducting its own internal review of the deputy's actions to determine his next steps. In Douglas County, Janelle Finch, 9 News.
During today's news conference, Douglas County DA George Brockler mentioned the deputy who shot Jalen Sebron was involved in another deadly shooting back in 2022. In that case, he was one of 6 deputies who shot and killed 2 people at an RTD station in Lone Tree. The sheriff said at the time the deputies were investigating a stolen Kia when 2 people inside the car started shooting at the deputies, and they shot back. The DA also ruled that shooting justified.
If you like the weather today, well, then you are in for a week of your choosing. Video from Centennial Gardens today, Spear Neelitz Circle along the South Platte River. Let's bring in meteorologist Kathy Sabin. It's going to be quite the change from the beginning of the weekend.
Yeah, a complete pattern flip from that persistent, cold, dreary, rainy, snowy week that we had. This week is going to be not only kind of a beautiful week of spring weather, but kind of a preview of summer, as I've got 80 degrees in the forecast on more than one day. And temperatures this hour are still pretty mild. After highs in the mid-60s today, we're in the upper 40s, some 50s on the map. Winds have been relatively light today and not a big issue, but I do expect the winds will be increasing tomorrow night into Wednesday ahead of this Pacific system that's starting to bring the high and mid-level cloud cover into western Colorado tonight. And so the wind will be kind of a big feature midweek. Other than that, we're just going to be tracking a few high and mid-layer clouds. Even with a little less sunshine, a little more cloud cover tomorrow, we're going to have a warmer day. Temperatures tonight not overly cold, above freezing along the Front Range. Your weather headlines include this metro mild weather trend that will last maybe not just this week, but right through the weekend. We'll talk about the mountain travel forecast because wind and snow are a part of that. And then with a warm, dry spell of weather like this, of course, we'll be talking about elevated fire danger. We'll talk all about it with your extended forecast in detail coming up.
About a dozen people are under evacuation orders tonight in Weld County due to an incident at a Chevron oil and gas well. It happened around 6 o'clock last night near the small town of Gailton, north of Greeley. Chevron says this is a well control incident. One worker was hurt and taken to the hospital. Weld County evacuated people within a half mile. They're keeping an eye on the air quality. Chevron says the well is releasing mainly water along with some oil and gas.
Looked out the window and I don't know if this is gas or what it is going up. Looks like Old Faithful, the geyser in Yellowstone, but yeah, it's pretty scary.
Team monitoring the situation says the geysers died down quite a bit compared to last night. Gailton Elementary is not far away. It was closed today. It'll be closed again tomorrow.
A third person has died after a fire at a senior living facility in Centennial more than a week ago. The fire near East Arapahoe Road and South Quebec Street broke out March 27th. South Metro Fire Rescue says it was an accident caused by somebody who didn't properly put out a cigarette. 82-year-old Alfred Bunsen and 73-year-old Randy Beckwith died that day. The Arapahoe County Coroner's Office confirmed today that a third person, Helen Huerta, died last Thursday. A man reported missing a month ago has been found dead in his apartment in Douglas County. The sheriff's office there says Jason Owen hadn't been seen or heard from since March 10th. 2 weeks later, they say the 51-year-old could be a danger to himself. Well, today they announced he was found dead inside his apartment, but the sheriff's office didn't say when he was found or where he lived or even any of the circumstances surrounding his death. The sheriff's office believes at some point he may have been with 44-year-old June Nimmons, and she might also be in danger. She's been missing since February.
The Denver Police Department is looking into cases that involved a former CBI analyst now under criminal investigation. Missy Woods faces more than 100 felonies over accusations that she manipulated DNA testing info over the course of her 29-year career. CBI says she worked on more than 10,000 cases. The agency believes she took shortcuts in a little more than 1,000 of them. 422 of the identified cases involved Denver police. So the Denver Crime Lab is now looking through all of them. When that work is finished, they'll determine how many need to be retested. CBI, for its part, says it welcomes the review. The city of Montrose will pay $35,000 to a guy ticketed for swearing at police, a charge the judge later dismissed.
What's the problem?
This guy's blocking the road. They said nobody could get through the drive-thru for a half an hour.
And police decided that salty language was a crime. Josh Smith was letting officers know he was unhappy because the fast food joint's drive-thru was blocked by police cars as they searched a stolen car. Officer wrote him a ticket for swearing at the officers. There you saw his attorney, David Lane, for some random reason, but that's who that was. A judge later ruled that the cussing was protected as free speech and dismissed the case. After Smith threatened to sue, the city reached a settlement.
Just overjoyed. I'm just happy it's over with.
We reached out today to Montrose city leaders. We did not hear back.
Today was another volatile day on Wall Street as investors try to figure out how the Trump administration's tariff policy will affect the U.S. and global economies long term. The Dow lost 349 points. The Nasdaq saw a small gain by the closing bell, and the S&P 500 took a 2% hit. Following today's developments, Goldman Sachs raised the odds of a U.S. recession to 45%. The stock market drop comes on the heels of China implementing a 34% tariff on U.S. imported goods. Well, today, President Trump threatened an additional 50% tariff on China if it doesn't withdraw those retaliatory tariffs. That would put China's tariff rate at 104%. Economists say this could affect a variety of things, like the price of goods and, for some people, job security.
When the stock market goes down, it's the values of the companies that is going down, and therefore companies are worried about that, because then they'll start losing the value from their balance sheets, and then they don't invest as much, and then the production in the future gets affected.
That economist went on to say the owner winners of all of this are domestic industries, which was a goal of President Trump. According to his social media post, China has until tomorrow to withdraw that 34% tariff. If they don't, the additional tariffs would take effect on Wednesday.